వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా, లోకం తెలుగాడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా. లెగరా లెగరా మనకు ఆహ్వానం అంటోంది ఆట, వదరా వదరా మన తెలుగోడి ఐక్యాన్ని చాట. వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా, లోకం తెలుగాడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా. కష్టాలు వచ్చినా కన్నీళ్లు వచ్చినా భుజాలు తట్టనేస్తమే, సభలకు వచ్చిన వితరణనిచ్చిన ఆ మాతృమట్టి కోసమే. 90లోనే బీజం వేసి చెట్టైంది ఇవ్వాలిరా, ఎన్నారైనా చిక్కలలో పెట్టింది దీపాలిరా. తెలుగు సంస్కృతికే అన్నై హోరెత్తిందిరా, జగతిన తెలుగాడి జెండా పైకెత్తిందిరా. వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా, లోకం తెలుగాడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా.
ఆకాశమే అక్కై అలరించే ఈ వేదిక, ప్రతివారికి ఆహ్వానమంతమే దారిందిక.
కళల వైభవం యువత ప్రాభవం ఆట మహోత్సవం, జరాలి అందరం చూడాలి సుందరం రెండేళ్ల కోసం భరం. విచ్చేసిన తారాలోకం వినోద విన్యాసాలు, వచ్చేసిన ప్రతిభకు ఇచ్చే సన్మాన ప్రోత్సాహాలు. తెలుగు ఐక్యతకి ఆట చేసే వ్రతం, చూడ పలికింది నీకు సుస్వాగతం. వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా, లోకం తెలుగాడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా, కొట్టాలిరా.
నీ డిజిగ్నేషన్ నువ్వు చెప్పుకో సుధీర్.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ ఎవ్రీవన్. నా పేరు సుధీర్ బండారు, కన్వీనర్ అండ్ బోర్డ్ ఆఫ్ ట్రస్టీ ఫర్ 17th అమెరికన్ తెలుగు అసోసియేషన్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ అండ్ యూత్ కన్వెన్షన్ వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీలో జరగబోతుందండి. మీరు అందరూ రావాలి. ఇది మనం మొట్టమొదటిసారిగా అమెరికన్ తెలుగు అసోసియేషన్ వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ క్యాపిటల్ సిటీలో జరుగుతున్న ఒక పెద్ద తెలుగు పండగ. ఈ తెలుగు పండగకి మన తెలుగు వాళ్ళంతా వచ్చి ఒక సంక్రాంతి లాగా, ఒక దసరా లాగా, ఒక పండగ లాగా చేసుకొని చాలా చాలా బ్రహ్మాండంగా విజయప్రదం చేసుకుందాం అన్నది మా ఆకాంక్ష. మన ట్రెడిషన్స్ ని, మన కల్చర్స్ ని, మన సంస్కృతిని మన ఫ్యూచర్ జనరేషన్స్ కి, మనతో ఇక్కడ ఉన్న వాళ్ళతో పాలు పంచుకోవడానికి చేస్తున్న ఈ తపస్సు ఇదొక కన్వెన్షన్. మీరందరూ రావాలని కోరుకుంటున్నాం. అదేవిధంగా ఈరోజు ఆట కన్వెన్షన్స్ కాన్ఫరెన్సెస్ కాకుండా మోస్ట్లీ చాలా మటు కమ్యూనిటీ సర్వీసెస్ అండ్ సేవా కార్యక్రమాలు చేస్తుంటుంది. ఇలాంటి సేవా కార్యక్రమంలో భాగంగా మేము ప్రతి వారం ఏదో ఒక ప్రోగ్రామ్ ని చేసి ప్రజలకు అందించేలాగా వర్క్ చేస్తుంటాము. అది ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సెమినార్స్ కానివ్వండి, ఇలా ఇమిగ్రేషన్ సెమినార్స్ కానివ్వండి, ఆర్ పిల్లలకు ట్యూషన్స్ కానివ్వండి, ఎస్ఏటీస్ కానివ్వండి, ఇలాంటివి చాలా మటుకు అమెరికన్ తెలుగు అసోసియేషన్ చేస్తూ ఇక్కడ ఉన్న మన తెలుగు ప్రజలకు కొంచెం సహాయం చేద్దామన్న దృక్పథంతో ఈ కార్యక్రమాలు చేస్తుంటాము. ఇలాగే ఇండియాలో కూడా మనం కోవిడ్ టైంలో కానీ మనకిప్పుడు ఈ డిసెంబర్లో ఆట వేడుకలు చేస్తున్నాము. డిసెంబర్లో మేము ఇక్కడ నుంచి వచ్చి అక్కడున్న మన తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల్లో కొన్ని విలేజెస్కి వెళ్ళి కొన్ని మెడికల్ క్యాంప్స్ పెట్టి కొన్ని స్కూల్స్ కి డొనేషన్స్ ఇచ్చి ఇలాంటివి ఒక 1 month వరకు మేము అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి అన్ని సేవా కార్యక్రమాలు చేయబోతున్నాము. సో అది కూడా ఆర్ట్ ఆఫ్ కమ్యూనిటీ సర్వీసెస్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ భాగంగా. అలాగే ఈరోజు ఇప్పుడు మనతోటి మన అమెరికన్ తెలుగు అసోసియేషన్ ఇమిగ్రేషన్ చైర్ మధురిమ పాటూరి గారు ఉన్నారు. అలాగే లలిత అల్లాడి గారు సీనియర్ అసోసియేట్ ఫ్రమ్ జేఎంసీ లా ఫర్మ్ గారు ఉన్నారు. వారు ఈ రోజు మనకు ఒక ఇమిగ్రేషన్ వెబినార్ లో మీకున్న క్వశ్చన్స్ కి అండ్ అలాగే వాళ్ళు కొన్ని విశ్లేషణ చేసి మీకు ఇప్పుడు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తారు. మీకు ఏమైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్నా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నా మీరు ఎక్కడైతే లైవ్ చూస్తున్నారో అక్కడ క్వశ్చన్స్ కమెంట్ చేయండి. అండ్ దెన్ దీస్ people will be able to address as many questions as possible. And over to Lalita Alladi garu now. Thank you, Andy.
Yes, thank you so much. Both, thank you so much.
అమెరికా తెలుగు సంఘం
ఆంధ్ర తెలంగాణ ఆట వేడుకల మాసం మొదలైందిగా కన్నీళ్ళి తోచ కష్టాలి తీర్చ ఆట కదిలిందిగా
వ్యాపారం చదువు ఉద్యోగాధికారోగ్య సదస్సులు కళలను హక్కున చేర్చుకు అందిస్తుంటారు ఉషస్సులు. నిలతలి రుణము తెచ్చక కదిలి వచ్చిన ప్రవాసులు 2 నెలలకు ఒకసారి 3 వారాలు ఆట వేడుకలు ఆట సేవ మరియు ఆట వేడుకలు.
Thank you to ATA for inviting me to join you for this presentation today. We are so excited to talk about some immigration updates on both the American side as well as the Indian side. We have so many immigration updates that are relevant to our South Asian population, to this Telugu group as well. And I find that you're going to learn a lot today. Some of the things that we are going to cover include, I suppose many of you have heard that there are some big updates in our community for the H4 visas as well as the L2 visas. A lot of people in our population have those visas, so I know this topic is going to be very helpful. We're also going to discuss about travel ban restrictions in the US, OCI and visas to India. And of course, we're always going to address questions that you have. So please post your questions on YouTube as well as on the Facebook page, both for ATA, and we are going to be happy to answer those questions. So welcome, Ms. Madhurima Paturi. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you're ready. We have a lot to discuss today.
Yep, I am ready.
Okay, so let's start off. Here in the US, there have been a lot of changes in just within the last week or so, with respect to a lawsuit that recently was, negotiated and gave some great results. Can you talk a little bit about why this lawsuit was even necessary?
Good morning and welcome everybody. And as you know, the most of the H4 EADs and the L2 related EADs been taking a long time in processing by the USCIS. Approximately, I could say, especially in last 2 years, it's taking anywhere from range of 8 months to 1.5 years to get the EADs, especially the extensions or initial EADs. The reason can be a lot of things, and there's a lot of, obviously the lawsuits were posed on regarding to this. This particular, the settlement. It's not even there is no argument, by the way, here, everybody between the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and the plaintiffs, which included a lot of parties, including the ALA, which is the big one, American Immigration Lawyer Association included. They are the plaintiffs. Together, they settled this argument not to have to go to the courts and waste the time, waste the resources. They said that it's a benefit for everybody just to settle outside the court, and what's best for the community. And basically, this lawsuit is to help the reduce the processing times or to give the benefits better, which you're going to hear in a minute, that how it's going to be more benefited to the spouses of the H4, the spouses of the H1 and the L1 spouses in related to the terms of the work permit.
Right. So, so let's talk a little bit about that. Let's break it down. In this lawsuit, how have those who are H4 beneficiaries, how has their situation improved? What happened?
So with this, what's going to happen is still the USCIS has to interpret what the settlement has to say. But basically, briefly, what it is if you're applying for the H4 EAD extension, you're going to be qualified for the 180-day automatic extension. So to give a brief of the background of the automatic extensions, there is a lot of other petitions which usually get this kind of the benefits. Like example, if your green card is pending, your I-485 is pending, if you apply for the 765 or you apply for the renewal for the 765, you're automatically gets 180-day automatic extension. So what that means is while the USCIS process to print the card or adjudicate your case, so before even adjudication, before they even look into your application, as long as you file properly, they just make you automatically continue to work what you're working without stop doing it, or you don't have to lose the job or look for the new, have a break or something like that. Example, for the people who has a pending of the green card, asylum holders, there's a few of them who automatically extends for this kind of especially the STEM students, if they're applying for the 24 months extension, they're all automatically get this kind of the 18-month extension. So it is a huge for having these spouses to be adding in this one. And the H4 is one of those category automatically extended for the 180-day, which is a 6 months, while the USCIS process the other side of it, So I think that this is also reduced overall because they remove the biometrics for the H4s. That reduces the time. Okay, so hopefully the H4s will approve faster. And thereafter, the H4 EADs will be approved, So what it means is, or if you have already the H4 stamping with I-94 validity for next 3 years, the minute you enter into the country, you can apply for the EAD, either standalone or apply for the H4 EAD extension if you already had the EAD based on the I-94 validity, okay? So, and also based on this, there is also, USCIS is also going to issue a new policies for the employers, what kind of the document they have to verify for them to accept or identify for the H4 EAD extension in lieu of having the actual EAD card. So this will be a huge benefit for the H4 EADs, so they don't have to stop working and they can manage how they can get the extension automatically for 6 months. Hopefully by the time the USCIS will continue to adjudicate and issue the cards.
So what I'm hearing then is that this this lawsuit and the settlement has helped these H4 dependents to be able to cover that lapse in work authorization that they had for some time. And so this has been a good solution for them in this settlement. And so I think that brings a lot of good news for people who are very, what should I say, reasonably so upset that they had to stop working, right? And then they're going to have the guidance in the I-9 handbook if they are an employer to know exactly what new documentation they can look for. So that's really great. That's wonderful news. Now, as much as this is wonderful news for H4 dependents, I also understand that those who are L2 dependents actually have even better news. Let's
yeah.
talk about that. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, you're right. L2's actually going to have better news than the H4 EAD extensions. So actually what they're telling in this settlement is basically they're telling that all these years we are interpreting this in a wrong way. They should have been never asking them to apply for the 765 as long as they have I-94 or L2 approval, which shows basically that they are eligible to work just with the status. They don't have to have a new card to show them they need actually new work permit to work, so they can use the I-94 for this kind of the status plus EAD proof. So they don't
Right.
have to apply kind of per se new EAD application to do that. Unless you are already here, and you have the EAD and you're doing the EAD extension, yes, you still have to do the I-765. But if you're just coming in or you have the L2 approval with the validity date, it automatically show you already have the 765, which is the EAD with your initial I-94 or initial approval, which is also serves as a purpose of the 765.
I mean, if I were on an L2 visa before, that would be so frustrating to hear that all along you could have had this EAD, and at least they're willing to admit that they got it wrong and now they're correcting it. So that's definitely good news for those who are on L2 visas. So thanks for sharing that. Now, before I move on to the next topic though, can you please tell us, obviously the viewers who are watching today, they want to know, okay, you've explained the law to us now as it stands. Now explain, practically speaking, how does this affect me? So let me give you two scenarios that might end up answering a lot of the questions we're going to get. Okay, if I have an H4 visa and I'm entering the United States, what happens for EAD? Do I need to file a 765? Or will it be pending and then I can work? What is the situation?
So if you're you entered on, if you entered on the H4, right?
Yeah.
And you have usually the validity is depend upon what's H1 validity is there. If your spouse just got the H1 approved with the 3 years and you went to the stamping next week, obviously you're going to get usually the same timing, which is 3 years of the H4 validity. Hopefully nobody kind of technically doing different dates. So based on that, what you're expecting is, okay, you have a new H4 now with a fresh validity of 3 years, 2 years, whatever the leftover is. If you already have valid H4 EAD, which you've been working and you wanted to apply for the extension, you're going to be applying that extension with obviously 180 days, you already automatically gets it with a receipt. But you never applied the EAD before, and this is your first time applying the EAD based on your current H4 validity. So that's a new H4. So obviously for the standalone H4 EADs, this 180-day automatic extension doesn't apply to them. Okay, this only applies for the people who already have the EAD and you're going to extend them. They are the only one who is going to get the 180-day automatic extension, which shows by itself it's automatic extension. So don't assume that you're applying the brand new EAD, which is the first time you're doing it, and don't expect that you get to work right away once you get the receipt and you're going to work for 6 months before you get the EAD card. That's not how it works.
Okay, so that's
I
good.
don't know if I'm clear. Do you have a follow-up question on that?
No, that's good. I think it's clear because we want to differentiate between these three. I have in my mind 3 different scenarios, right? So one scenario is what we just talked about. The person who's coming in with their first time H4 visa, they come into the United States. Now you've been clear in telling them, no, you have to apply for the EAD. And when you apply for the EAD, you cannot start working till you have the EAD card. Your situation has not changed for those people.
Right.
But you made it clear in saying, if, however, you have applied for the extension and you've already extended your H4 in the United States, those people can rely on the 180-day extension of their EAD, correct?
Yeah. Basically what the conclusion is, like the 180-day thing only applies for the people who is trying to extend the H4 EAD.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Very good.
Not, and also this lawsuit applying only for the people who applied the standalone H4 EADs. If you're applied the H4 and H4 EAD concurrently and you're still waiting for the H4 approval, this settlement is not helpful for you. So what basically they're looking for the validity of the H4 before they even give you that extension of automatic extension for 6 months. They need to see your approval. If both are pending, that doesn't apply to you.
Yeah. And you know what? I think some of our viewers might wonder, why is that? Why are they differentiating? But I think, it's a good principle that they want to make sure you have the status. And only if you have the status now, you're going to get the EAD. They want to make sure that that's only happening for those who already have it, right? So,
exactly.
Oh, great, great. So let me do this before I jump into another subject. Okay, and we do have a few. There are a few questions here by our viewers on this topic. So one, we have some from Vamsi. Need help to expedite H4 and H4 EAD as they expire in December of this year. Spouse's H1B is valid till April 2023. This is slightly different. Okay, so I filed an I-485 in October 2021 to make sure new rule on H4 EAD. Can I go out of the country to get an H4? Did you catch all those dates?
I don't think so. I got all the dates, but I got the concept of it. It looks like that I-485 is pending.
Yep.
And there's also H4 EAD pending.
Yes, exactly. Correct? It's about, it looks like they said they want to expedite the H4E and the H4 EAD because they both are expiring in December. So it sounds like they, but there's no premium processing for H4.
What do you mean by they're expiring? Okay, they applied 6 months ahead of the time. Sounds like, okay. Yeah. There is no expedite process per se, unless you have a certain circumstances. I know that USCIS being very honoring from last few months, being of the delays in processing times, and losing the jobs at particular reason. If you have a particular reason that either you're losing the income or you have a health conditions that you need to get back into the insurance or things like that, you can expedite the call to the USCIS and expedite the H4 EAD. Is that the question, or is it?
So the question is more so about this. It's at the end. Basically, because it's expiring in December, he wants to know how can he expedite it. I think he realizes there's no premium processing. That's why he's asking, should I go out of the country, do some kind of stamping, and then come back in order for the new H4 EAD rule to kick in and for it to apply to the spouse? What should I do? So you talked about that. Can you go into that for this question?
Yeah, I mean that if it is only to use this settlement to help you to the 180-day extension, not to have that gap of the work permit and everything. Yeah, basically she can go, whoever the H4 dependent, they can go out. If you have the H1 approval for the next 3 years, based on that, they can go to the stamping and get a new validity for the I-94. Basically, you're not waiting for the new what do you say, the new H4 approval from the USCIS. You're going to withdraw in the United States and you go get the stamping, and then you're going to apply the new H4 EAD, because the one you already applied, it doesn't help you because you applied together with H4 and H4 EAD. You may have to withdraw those two applications and get the new H4 visa stamping, and you're going to file the new H4 EAD. When you file that extension, you're going to be eligible for 180-day extension.
Right.
But before you go, make sure that we do have actually the appointments in India, if you're from India, at the consulates, if they've opened for the H4 dependents.
Yeah, that's really important. Practically speaking, there are something logistics to look at before you even follow through this plan.
Maybe the H4s will go faster too, as you all know that they removed the biometrics and everything. Now that could probably go faster too.
Yeah. So the next question we have, this person has already got an H4 approved, and it's a expiration is 2024, and they've also applied for the standalone H4 EAD. before it was expiring. So they've done all that correctly, and it's pending adjudication. What they want to know is, will this settlement allow them to work for 180 days from the EAD expiry date? To me, it sounds like the question has to do with this lawsuit coming about after his case was already pending. Will this affect him? Will it also go in retrospect, or is it only for cases filed after the lawsuit settlement?
Did they file together is the question here. Even though H4 got
No, they
approved,
said
I get it,
standalone. They filed it standalone.
The standalone. Okay. So if it is a standalone, USCIS should be updating this one, the memo on this one, and they will be issuing the new receipts with the 180-day extension. That's supposed to be happening with the USCIS,
Okay, so he can expect a new receipt notice.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thanks for that. Let me just check. I think those are the questions we have. Give me one moment. I think, we have one more. Hold on. Okay. So the next question is it okay to travel outside the USA while this is not on this subject. Is it okay to travel outside the USA while my STEM extension application is processing and my initial OPT ends February 8th? And I plan to come back in January 20th. Will I face any issues?
Well, STEM OPT extension has nothing to do with your travel, as long as you have the valid status of the F1, as long as you're maintaining your I-20 and the credits, you still have the new I-20. STEM OPT also needed the I-20, obviously updated I-20. As long as you're maintaining that with the university, it has nothing to do with the OPT. That doesn't stop you, doesn't abandon you in revoking the application. So I don't see a problem in traveling just because your OPT is pending.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to another subject. We've also have some updates in India, and it has to do with travel and the visas. Just if you're coming as a tourist visa, let's say, to India, what changes can we expect? What are we seeing being announced by the Indian consulate? So if I'm traveling from America, or I suppose even in another country, to India, what changes can I expect if I want to visit?
Oh, these are it's so funny we are talking about this topic. It's probably going to be changing in next 24 hours. Probably it's not even valid, but we just want to give a quick sneak peek, So basically they kind of not accepting any, which usually it's a 10-year visa kind of thing. This is mostly meant to the either US citizens or citizens of the particular country who are the foreigners to India. So it doesn't affect to the Indian nationalities. I just want you not to be confused with Indian and American here, So we are talking mostly to the US citizens here who was traveling to India on the visa. So right now they're only accepting who has the OCI card or somebody who has the e-visa, not the 10-year validity visa, which they're not issuing, the consulates are not issuing at this point, or they're not validating that one as a medium of to transport, to travel for that, So basically, if you have the e-visa, which was issued in before October 6th, or 10-year visa, that's not the means you're going to be using to travel to India in next 24 hours. That is changing literally tomorrow. So that's why I don't want to go into detail, So if you have to go travel emergency as a US citizen and you don't have the OCI and you do have the 10-year visa or you don't have the 10-year visa, it doesn't matter. You needed a new e-visa to get into that flight. So that's the update from the Indian consulate in USA.
Okay. So since that's about to change within 24 hours, I'm going to move back to the United States then. Okay. So in the United States, as of November 8th, there have been some changes. We had some travel bans due to COVID. There have been some restrictions. Can you tell us what has changed with respect to these restrictions? And with those changes, what are the new rules and regulations?
So as you all know that when we hit this global pandemic last year, which we all have to go through such a hard times in a lot of ways, global pandemic, which is uncertain times. And there is also the health risks and all this with the global travel and everything. The US president passed the proclamation that for the certain countries where obviously this pandemic is in a high peak, that let's stop for a few days in terms of the public safety, So the president proclamation on different countries, actually India is one of the country which added earlier this year, actually middle of this year, as a part of this list of different countries. They have the travel ban that you couldn't be traveling, or if you do travel, you have this quarantine and everything else, So literally last few months was very hard for a lot of people, especially the H1 holders or the dependents or anybody, just to come into the United States, even though they have the work permit or the visas and everything. That just because with a travel ban, you basically can't come in unless you are a US citizen or permanent resident. Okay. Everybody else, either you can't come in straight, or you have to go through a different country where they will allow you to stay quarantined for 14 days before you enter into the United States. That travel ban was lifted on November 8th. So when they lifted, they also still have the couple of restrictions that you need to get vaccinated. That vaccinated, whatever that the name of the vaccine has to be listed in the WHO, or it has to be approved by the FDA, basically. So if you are coming from a different country, or even in India, check, like I know that you have a lot of questions about the Covaxin, Covishield, and all those things, is that approved by the WHO or FDA? And they have other kind of the vaccines also in different countries, or even in India, just make sure that you have that vaccine in the list before you even have any travel plans or get the ticket or anything like that. The next thing is everybody, regardless you are a permanent resident, US citizen, whoever coming into the United States, you all have to get tested 48 hours before. I guess it's with a QR code, and there is some regulations. Well, basically what it is, you need to get the COVID test done 48 hours before and have that proof before you get into that flight. It's important. So these are the two important things. The good thing is the travel ban was lifted, so people can come as long as the consulates are honoring your appointments and get the visas, you're ready to fly in.
And it looks like there may be some minor exceptions for those who are not able to be vaccinated right now, like children. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're minus under 12, I guess, like in India, they don't have the vaccine for the kids yet, obviously,
Right.
So things like that as,
minor types of
the minor kids. Yes.
Okay. So now going back to questions that we have, it looks like the questions are mostly about your first topic, about that H4 EAD. One of them, you sort of addressed it already, but let me focus on this one specific question so that their question is answered, right? So he says that he filed H4 and H4 EAD together, and it expired on August 31st. So he says, but my H4 is approved till, it expired August 2021, and my H4 is approved till August 2023. H4 EAD is still pending. Can I resume start working?
So if you applied again, the formula here is, did you apply together, right? If you apply together, this lawsuit doesn't help you, okay? So it looks like you applied together and H4 got approved, still the H4 EAD is pending, seems like, If that's the case, this lawsuit doesn't help you, okay? What I suggest you is, looks like your H4 EAD also already expired, so obviously that doesn't help you. I should have told that, okay, just withdraw the petition and go apply the new H4 EAD extension, so you get the 180-day extension, but that's not the case. Yours is already elapsed. So basically nothing you can do about it, just wait for that H4 EAD approval.
Right, okay. Then we have one more question, and it says that my spouse H4 was applied for with transfer and extension in June 2021, but we're still waiting for approval. How long is it taking as of late for H4s to get approved? What is the processing time basically?
So just for the H4s, it was, I mean, that it's, I'm sorry to say that last year processing times are all over, as we know that why the reason is because of the COVID. And also on the top of that, a lot of offices were closed for the biometrics and other things. And H4 biometrics was one of the requirement until the early of this year, you know. So because they eliminated that biometric step right now, you know, the processing times would probably go faster, which we are already seeing that, you know. So I don't have exact processing times, even though USCIS have the chart, but that's not how they're going for. But all I can say is it definitely can go faster this year because of the not having the biometric step, you know. I think right now it's taking anywhere 6 to 8 months just for the H4.
Just for H4 alone, and then only they're going to be able to apply for that EAD. Yeah,
Correct.
right. Okay, one person wants to know, H4 and H4 EAD, is it valid once a derivative started using a green card EAD?
They both are two different. I think they're getting confused.
I think they
don't have to use two different EADs. If you have the H4 EAD, just use that one. Or if you received a EAD based on the 485 pending, just use that one, you know. You don't use both. And they both are two different classifications, you know. If you start using the EAD based on the 485, then you started accepting the benefits receiving based on the 485. Then you're not using, then once you start using the 485 benefits, then H4 and H4 EAD doesn't matter to you because you're automatically waiting for the adjustment of status pending.
Right. Another person wants to know, just like you spoke about the average processing time for H4s, what is your average processing time for those who are currently applying for H4 EAD?
Standalone.
Right. Yeah, it looks like just standalone.
Yeah, it was taking over a year, you know. I mean that it's painful, you know. We don't see any new ones coming through yet, you know. But the people who applied last year, it was taking about a year. H4 EAD.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears to L2. We have someone here on our Facebook Live. They are asking, I'm on an L2 and I have an L2 EAD, which expired in October. I have applied for the L2 and EAD extension. My question is that with the change in policy, I hope I'm now good to work as long as I have a valid I-94. Please clarify.
Yes, you're right. If the I-94 says that it has the L2, yes, you are automatically can do it. But are you here? Are you going out? Or did you apply for the extension? Did he say that he applied for the extension?
He says he applied for L2 and EAD extension. So I have to assume it's in the United States as an extension together.
Okay. So then he needs the validity of the L2 to be started working on it.
Yeah. So once he receives his L2 extension with the I-94, he can.
He should be getting benefited directly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, those are all the questions that we have for today. So what we can do is anyone else who has more questions, please send an email to info@ataworld.org. That's ATA world.org. And the ATA Legal Chair will address these questions as they receive them. Do you have anything else you want to cover, Madhu, before we end and conclude for today?
I think we basically covered everything. And I know a lot of people also eagerly waiting for the consulates, US consulates in India to open so they go get their visas. And especially the B2 visas, a lot of people are asking that when they're even going to open. All the consulates, all the 4 consulates says that the appointments are only for emergency still. So wait for the patiently, and the B2 doesn't qualify as the emergency. I just want to tell you that, unless it's a humanitarian condition. So I'm sorry about that. You know, hopefully this will change in next couple of months.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Madhu, for speaking with everybody here and answering their questions. And I also want to thank ATA as well.
Well, thank you.
You hand it back to ATA.
All right. So thank you, Lalita ji, as well as Madhurima. And we appreciate, behalf of ATA, taking your valuable time and, trying to give some insight as well as, some information to our audience. And we are going to do more and more like this. And once again, thank you, behalf of ATA, Madhurima Garu, as well as Lalita Garu. Thank you very much. And if you guys have any questions going forward, please send an email to ATA info@artaworld.org. Our legal chair is nothing but Madhurima Paturi. She is going to take your questions and she's going to address going forward. And that's all. And once again, thank you very much. So Naveen, you can conclude. And please don't.
లెగరా లెగరా మనకు ఆహ్వానమంటోంది ఆట వదరా వదరా మన తెలుగోడి ఐక్యాన్ని చాట వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా లోకం తెలుగోడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా లెగరా లెగరా మనకు ఆహ్వానమంటోంది ఆట వదరా వదరా మన తెలుగోడి ఐక్యాన్ని చాట వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా ఎత్తాలిరా లోకం తెలుగోడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా కొట్టాలిరా కష్టాలు వచ్చినా కన్నీళ్లు వచ్చినా భుజాలు తట్టనేస్తమే సభలకు వచ్చినా వితరణనిచ్చినా ఆ మాతృమట్టి కోసమే 90లోనే బీజం వేసి చెట్టైంది ఇవ్వాలిరా ఎన్నారైనా చీకట్లలో పెట్టింది దీపాలిరా తెలుగు సంస్కృతికే అన్నీ హోరెత్తిందిరా జగతిన తెలుగాడి జెండా పైకెత్తిందిరా వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా ఎత్తాలిరా లోకం తెలుగాడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా కొట్టాలిరా
ఆకాశమే అక్కై అలరించే ఈ వేదిక ప్రతివారికి ఆహ్వానమంటోంది దారిందిగా
కళల వైభవం యువత ప్రాభవం అట్ట మహోత్సవం జరాలి అందరం చూడాలి సుందరం రెండేళ్ల కోసం భరం విచ్చేసిన తారాలోకం వినోద విన్యాసాలు వచ్చేసిన ప్రతిభకు ఇచ్చే సన్మాన ప్రోత్సాహాలు తెలుగు ఐక్యతకి ఆట చేసే వ్రతం చూడ పలికింది నీకు సుస్వాగతం వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ వీధులు పోటెత్తాలిరా ఎత్తాలిరా లోకం తెలుగాడి ఖ్యాతిని జై కొట్టాలిరా కొట్టాలిరా
అమెరికా తెలుగు సంఘం
ఆంధ్ర తెలంగాణ ఆట వేడుకల మాసం మొదలైందిగా కన్నీళ్ళి తోడ్చ కష్టాలే తీర్చ ఆట కదిలిందిగా
చదువు ఉద్యోగాధికారోగ్య సదస్సులు కళలను హక్కున చేర్చుకు అందిస్తుంటారు ఉషస్సులు. నీలతల్లి రుణము తీర్చగా కదిలి వచ్చిన ప్రవాసులు 2 ఏళ్లకు ఓసారి 3 4 వారాలు ఆట